Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you're here. I am feeling really good about Project Hourglass. I recently took some time to map out the second half of my book. I took a day and went through a Skillshare class, which I will link in the description below, as well as a link for 30 days free. So if you're interested in trying Skillshare, you can use the link I provide. But I took a Skillshare class about character development because I've been feeling like cough drag stop. Sorry. I've been feeling like I have not connected with my main character enough. And I've really struggled with Eris. So my female main character, or my protagonist, whatever. Her name is Eris Ravenar. And when I initially started writing the book, I was really, really excited about her. But after my first draft, I realized I wrote her really immature. And that was not my intention. But I think I had gotten so in my head and I was so scared that I was writing her. Not that I was writing her. I was scared that I was going to accidentally write her too similarly to some of my other favorite female protagonists, that I never really locked in on who she is. And she just sort of ended up all over the place. And that was that. And that's okay. Over this writing process, I've definitely learned that I'm a discovery writer. And with being a discovery writer, there comes a lot of discovery. So, if you're not going to take the time to plan it all out ahead of time, there's going to be trial and error. And that's sort of where I'm realizing that I don't want to be a full-on pantser, which is why I sat down and mapped out the second half of my book and took this class. So fast forward, I took this class and it was a game changer. It wasn't anything complicated, but it helped me to ask questions that I wouldn't have known to ask because I'm a self-taught writer. I have nearly an associate's degree worth of college under my belt, but I don't have any formal writing classes under my belt or in my tool belt, however you want to say it, which is okay. But again, you don't know what you don't know. And while I do watch a lot of YouTube videos and I try to be as resourceful as I can, sometimes you really do just need someone to instruct you on how to do something. And that's where the Skillshare class came so in handy. And I loved that it was structured. I loved that it was that sort of classroom environment. Well, not environment, but it was sort of that classroom setup. Like someone's going to teach me and I know what the modules are about. I know what to expect versus combing through YouTube for videos that I think will help, which again, there's nothing wrong with that either. I love doing that. But for the sake of not rambling on forever, I just really, really enjoyed how this class was set up. And again, like I said, it wasn't super complicated. I was able to ask questions about my protagonist I hadn't thought to ask before. And I was really able to go beyond the surface, which is where I have been stuck with her, which in turn helped me to get a clearer picture of her character arc because I've known sort of the broader scope of my story. I understand the conflict and I understand what needs to happen at the end of my book. And I've had a general idea of how I'm going to get her there. But I've had a desire to give her sort of a villain arc, which I'm really excited about. But whenever I explored that idea, I found myself hitting a wall. Like, okay, you really want to do this. You want to write this into your book, but how are you going to make it make sense? That's me asking myself. Because I didn't want to just write in a villain arc for the fun of it. Like I really wanted it to have a place and to have purpose. And that's where I was struggling, was figuring out how that was going to come into being based on how I was writing her, who she is, how she was raised, sort of all of these things that have shaped her into the character that Eris Ravenar is. But after taking this class, I was able to uncover some answers to these questions, and I realized that I could fit her villain arc seamlessly into my story the way that I was hoping I could. And it just honestly boosted my confidence so much. And I'm so glad that I just took the time to do it. Because I think part of me, I've been very intent on maintaining a deadline to a certain degree, like with a little bit of flexibility, because obviously I'm not signed to an agent. I'm drafting my novel, like, and life happens. I have 2 kids, I have a small business, the whole shebang. But I don't want to take forever on this. Like, I want to write with intention and purpose, in the sense that, like, I'm writing this book because I want it to be published, and I don't want it to live on my computer forever and ever because I'm dragging my feet. So I've had a deadline, like I have daily writing goals, etc., etc. But there is something to be said for taking the time when you need to do some of the grunt work. And that's what I would consider this, mapping out and really visualizing the timeline and that sort of thing. To me, that's grunt work. Like, if it's not physically writing the book, then it's something else, but it has its place and purpose just as much as writing the book does. And again, I'm so glad that I took the time to do it, because I'm feeling so much better about my story. If you follow me on social media, you probably saw me post about this, but I've realized through this writing journey that I have a tendency to do this thing where if one thing isn't working, or, if, no, I think that's a great way to say it. If one thing's not working, like I don't understand my character well enough, I tend to spiral out and like crash out and decide that like the whole thing isn't working. Like, oh, I must not be cut out for writing because I don't feel perfectly in tune to like my character, or I must not be cut out to write a book because I can't solve this problem, or I didn't know how to do it, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm working on it. I definitely need to simmer down a little bit. This is all part of the process. But it's hard, like, especially I think when you're not taking a class, or, you don't have a mentor to say to you, you've run into an obstacle, but you'll find the solution, keep going. Like, you're not a weirdo for running into this obstacle or something. It's really easy to get inside your head about it, especially because in my book, I change point of views towards the middle, and it makes sense. There's purpose. I'm actually really excited about it. But I changed point of views, and I was writing the secondary character's point of view, and I was like, why is this coming so naturally to me? Like, what does this mean? Like, should this be my main character? And I was spiraling. And then I realized I struggle so much with Eris because I care so much about Eris and how she's perceived, and I really want to do her justice as the writer of her life. And that's okay. But there's going to be growing pains as I'm learning how to bring her to life, and as I'm growing as an author, and there's no avoiding it. Like, there's growing pains with anything in life. And I think this is a good lesson for me to learn, that I need to allow myself to be a beginner, because that's what I am. I am a beginner in this. Like, yes, I'm currently writing the second draft, but this is my debut novel. This is my baby novel. And I'm hoping, as the years continue, that I'll have my sophomore and my senior novels and all that. But for right now, in this moment, in this season, I am a beginner. And there are just things that I don't know yet, and I can't learn them except for through experience. So all that to say, I'm feeling good now. I'm feeling really good, actually. And I'm excited to sit down at my laptop and write this story. Hang on. He's very needy, but I'm very excited. I'm very excited to write the story and bring it to life. I can't wait to share it with you guys eventually. This is the first time in a hot minute that I've really felt like, okay, there's something here, which kind of sucks. Like, when I think about it, I'm like, geez, girl, like, you need to be a little bit nicer to yourself. But it's hard. Like, some of these roadblocks that you face feel so monumental, but I need to stop making them bigger than they are, and also kind of keep the bigger picture in mind too, that like, again, as I was saying before, just because you've run into this roadblock doesn't mean that your entire manuscript is a shit show. So learn from me. Don't do what I've done if you want to be happy in your writing journey. So there's that, but that's my writing update for right now. I'll keep you posted. But I'm really, like I said, very excited to share with you guys. And yeah, I'll let you know when I have something more to say.